Assault Nurse Examiner program would be up and running in Sydney by the fall of 2015. He said at the time that the team would include as many as 16 registered nurses with specialized training, and he also committed to establish a SANE site in Western Nova Scotia. So, Mr. Speaker, it's 1 year later, and we now know that this is yet another broken promise, but this time a broken promise to survivors of sexual assault. So my question, Mr. Speaker, how can the minister justify not acting on his promises to survivors of sexual assault?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the member opposite for the question. I think it's about 6 months and not a year since I was in Sydney to hear from people who were interested in setting up and being part of the sexual assault clinic. Where she received the information on 16 nurses is certainly not in any notes that I provided or information orally in that area. So what I'm pleased to say is that the RFP has gone out for the SANE program in Cape Breton, as well as for the western part of the province. And one of the areas that we discovered needed a lot of work. While we have a great clinic in the Avalon Sexual Assault Centre, we also needed to review the criteria in setting up a new facility.
The Honourable Member for Truro, Bible Hill, Millbrook, Salmon River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, actually, it was a year. In fact, it was written about in May 20th of last year in the Sydney newspaper, and they mentioned that he had said that the team would include as many as 16 registered nurses. I'll table that. So, Mr. Speaker, the minister can talk about his RFP or re-announcement of money as much as he likes, but it doesn't change the fact that he made a promise to survivors of sexual assault, and he's broken it. And it's been a whole year since the minister made commitments to women and to men across Nova Scotia that they would not be forced to travel for hours to see sexual assault nurse examiners. So, Mr. Speaker, we've waited long enough, and the inaction by government is inexcusable. So my question is, when will the sexual assault nurse examiner program be expanded to the underserved areas of Nova Scotia?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What I'm pleased to say is that it's not just these two areas now that we are addressing. We actually have hired a provincial coordinator that will look at SANE programs and other related services for those suffering from sexual assault. And we will, in fact, see expansion of this program and related services across Nova Scotia. And we know that this will be provided during this fiscal year.